Hello, and welcome back to Wonderland Asylum. We are back with issue 60 of the Hachette Partworks release of Titanic, the ship, the legend. Okay, so what's in the magazine? First of all, an article on Britannic, not Titanic's sister ship, incidentally, a different Britannic. Again, an advert for the Britannic, one of White Star's steamships. And a small note about the commander. My goodness, it's getting very whitewashed. About the Britannic, when it collided with another White Star ship, incidentally. An article on the Second Boer War, which I do believe was where the British changed from wearing the redcoats, the traditional British redcoats, to wearing the khaki colours. In fact, yeah, there's a picture there, because the redcoats were too visible, obviously. So that was when camouflage became a thing, if I remember correctly. British artillery and survivors aboard, what ships was the name of the ship? The Sumatra. And then that's us onto the parts. So let's see what's in the box today. Okay. So in today's box, in today's collection of brown envelopes, we have some HP screws, kind of flanged screws. Now, I'm sure they don't get used at this stage, so I'll put them aside. We have some piping, and I'm sure that runs from the third funnel. We have some more piping. We have some more piping. I'm sure that goes on one of the funnels. Well, it does, I'm not sure which one. And a couple of benches. Again, as I mentioned in the last issue, very important to make sure there's nothing left in the brown envelopes. This one, which is very flat, contains some deck pieces. Again, only one of the little corner deck pieces came out there. So say, the joys of the brown paper envelopes. And then there are some vent style pieces here. And in the final envelope, we have the actual housing for the second class stairs. Now, just as an aside, these bits here are sort of wind deflectors that go around the doors. On the trumpeter kit, these actually aren't included, and people have had to do workarounds for them. Just as an aside, so where I have been critical of this in the past, certain issues and certain details, I will give credit where it's due, and the same with this, which is the kind of entrance that goes on top of the second class stairway doors. It has a door on each side, whereas on the trumpeter kit it only had one door at the front. And it is believed that Titanic had, as I say, a door on each side. So again, points for accuracy to the Hachette model. Now we will also need these two vent pieces that came with a previous issue, and we'll need these windows, which I think it was issue 51 these came with, so we'll need them too. In fact, these are the first things we need. So shovel everything else away just now, being very careful not to lose any of the deck pieces. And what we're doing essentially is into each of these holes we're going to be gluing one of these windows. Again, I have my glue and everything all set up. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the last one there, 7. There are 7 windows in total, and we have 8 on the sprue. So again, the way I break off photo etch is I just bend it round like that. And the photo etch that comes with Titanic is fairly solid, so you're not going to break the piece by, as I say, tilt it, catch your nail underneath it until it bends around, and then just spin it until it comes loose. Now that works if the fixing posts are directly across from each other. If not, may have to use a bit more ingenuity for following pieces if they're attached to the photo etch disc a bit differently. But this way served me well through the whole of the Bismarck build, so I don't see why it wouldn't work for Titanic unless there are more complex photo etch pieces. But given the complicity of some of the pieces that came with Bismarck, I find that highly unlikely. Again, this is the entrance to the second class stairs. So while not as ornate, obviously, as either the main or the aft grand staircase for the first class passengers, it was still fairly pleasant. Okay. Again, just a little bit of glue on each side. Again, the way I find easiest to do with these windows is line up the bottom and drop it in, just like that. I think these look fantastic. I'm really, really chuffed with how they look. Now obviously we're not putting glass into any of the windows, but I do believe we get some more of that horrible foil tape to stop the light bleed. After how much I hated doing the forward deck housing with it, I'm actually in two minds about whether to even bother. Genuinely. So we'll see, but I'm genuinely leaning towards not bothering. But because if you look inside, you're to try and put foil around there. Now how are you meant to get foil in there? It's just not going to happen. You're going to end up with it stuck all over the place, and there's going to be a lot of profanity, as there was when I did the first deck housing, and it was significantly bigger. This is the one I was looking forward to least, because there's not as much room to get in. Pair of tweezers. There we go. I was actually tempted to do that one first, just so I knew how bad a time I was going to have, but nah, it wasn't bad at all. Again, the last two windows. And there we go. That is us with all the windows fitted to the second class stairway entrance. Okay. And the next thing we're doing is attaching the vents. Now, as I say, I'm not a fan of the white plastic in there, so what I'm going to do is get a nice black marker and colour in inside these vents. So when you attach the vent on, because basically the minute they started the engines up and the minute they started the ventilators, these areas would instantly be blackened with soot. Again, it doesn't matter which one goes on which side, they are both exactly the same. So in much the same manner as I broke off the windows, I'm going to break off these two vents from their photo etch disc. Just noticed something that will drive me nuts if I don't fix it. Didn't colour in the bottom. The vent there. There we go. That looks much better. Okay, so again, doing a little bit of glue, just enough to keep the vent in. You don't want it to be splattering out the sides when you put the vent on. There is vent number 1. And vent number 2. Just like that. Now the next thing it's wanting us to do is put the door guards on, but there is something else I'm wanting to do first, so I will be back in just a second to show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so you'll notice there are portholes in the windows, but they're not drilled through, as with a forward superstructure. So what I'm doing is essentially I've got a drill that's the right size, line it up with the porthole, and just gently drill through the plastic. And there we go. So this area does light up, so therefore you'll get light coming through the porthole as well. And I think because it's all so stark white, to me it's a bit, you lose the detail in it. Now there are also moulded deck lights, but I don't have a drill bit small enough to drill them out, or I would do. But yeah, just another small additional detail that I'm adding to my model. No requirement for you to do it with yours, I just feel it adds to the overall effect. Now, the next thing we're doing is adding, as I mentioned, these door guards. Now they will only fit on one way. Again, just a little bit of glue into the pinholes. I'm putting a wee bit just at the end there as well, just to give it something extra to adhere to make sure the end doesn't stick out. Again, line the pegs up with the holes, push it all together. It should look like that. Now basically that was designed to stop, when you opened the door, to stop the door getting blown away. And as I mentioned before, on the trumpeter kit, those were missing, I believe. Having watched the model boat guy building the 1/200 scale Titanic by Trumpeter, he had to make his own version of these, and then he had to cut his own planking to put over the top as well. But yep, that's them fitted. And speaking of the planking, that's the next thing we're doing. Now, I normally, as you know, get some wood glue out, but in this case I'm just going to use the super glue I've already got and just dab a wee bit round and about. Because this area is relatively small, I don't think it'll be too bad. Now, I may come to regret this in the future, but for the moment I'll leave it like this. And this is also why I don't glue my deck features down, because it means I do need to come and do something with the deck later, I do have that flexibility. But it's just a little bit of glue in there as well. Okay, so taking this piece of decking, peel off the backing paper. Make sure you line the holes up properly and press the deck down into place. As I say, that area is so small that the adhesive should hold it reasonably well. And then we're going to be fitting the two wee triangle pieces. Now what to be careful with them is you want the planks to be going the same way. So if I take this piece like that, I'm not wanting to fit it on that way, if you can see, because then the planks aren't going the same way as the main deck. I'm wanting to make sure that when it goes on there. So the planking all runs the same way. Or I am anyway, but that's just because I'm really, really pernickety. So again, peel the backing paper off. I'm going to just add a little bit of super glue just to make sure it stays stuck down. As I say, make sure the planks all go the same way. And there she is. Now we're doing the same with the other side. Again, just dip it in the super glue. You don't need much, just enough to aid with that adhesive, because I have zero faith in the adhesive they provide with it. But I don't think it's worth getting the Gorilla Glue out for these tiny little parts. Tell you what is a challenge with this issue: getting the backing paper off of the planking. There we go. It's an issue for me because I don't have any nails. There we go. Just make sure it sits on like that. Perfection. Now the next thing we're doing is attaching the doors for, I think that's the mechanism for the second class lift. And again, there's a large peg and a small peg, so it will only fit on one way. It says glue if you need to. You're not going to need to, because it is a very, very tight fit. That. Yep, and then next we have, it says we should have two small vents. Give me 2 seconds. Panic over. I just managed to brush them under my bigger vents. So these go on either side here. Again, they don't need glued because it's a nice tight fit. And now we're going to assemble this vent piece here, but before I do, so that's where the air comes out, so get my ultrafine Sharpie and blacken up the underside of the vent. Again, you're not really going to see, but I'll know. Again, it's going into that hole there. It is crescent moon shaped, so it will only fit one way. Again, I'm not sure if you need to glue it, but yeah, it's quite a snug fit, so you don't need to glue that either. Now, where is this going? Nowhere. It's being kept aside for safekeeping. As is everything else in this issue. The only thing we need to do is once more bring over our boat deck, which I have sitting just next to me. And we're fitting the benches to the deck. Now these do need glue. The benches always need glue because they do not sit tight in their holes. Don't know why, they just don't. So bench number 1, just like that, and bench number 2 going in nope. Bench number 2 doesn't want to sit. Bench number 2 has decided to play the game now. So just to see how it looks, let's sit. This will get screwed on at a later date. Ooh, it may not. Actually, that's a hexagonal hole, so I'm not going to push it down, but that's kind of what that looks like. And with these vents that will attach to, I think these all go at the third funnel, and with this vent piece we just assembled, that's all there is to do for stage 60. And that's all there is to do for this month's issues. Okay, so that's us for issue 60. What's coming in issue 61? The rest of the bolts, the davits, and the tin foil. So not looking forward to that. But as I say, issue 61, I believe it is, does actually conclude the boat deck detailing. So I'm quite looking forward to that, to getting the boat deck all over and done with and moving on, finally. But yeah, that was primarily what we made today, the second class entrance. So yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Sorry about how washed out the white is, but yep. So yeah, quite good, very accurate, a lot more accurate actually than the trumpeter ones, I keep saying. But yeah, thanks as always for watching. Any feedback, comments or criticisms, drop them below. If you like what you see, do leave me a like and consider subscribing to be notified of future videos. But other than that, as I say, thank you as always for watching, and as always, peace out everyone.